time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special Good Friday edition, game day edition here of The Oil Stream. Nielsen and Gazzola with you, brought to you by our friends at Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, drive-through, 12 locations, 7 of them right here in Edmonton, locally owned and operated. Pick up the Popeye's chicken sandwich or get that family meal, the Oilers meal, and get your Oilers collector cups. Tommy G, I like this suit jacket that you're wearing, buddy. What is that, like a purple plaid jacket?
Yeah, lavender to be exact.
Lavender, cool.
Tis the season, I guess. So I went with the Easter spring kind of look today, and it feels good. I got flowers on my tie and all those colors. It's good to mix it up a little bit. I had to get away, Dusty, from I got a lot of like navies and blues, grays, and I finally decided I'm like I need to try something different. Everyone's going with kind of the maroon burgundy these days. And when I was the girl I was seeing a few months ago, I was like, hey, I've got like a few options here. Which one's the best? And she chose this one. So smart girl. It looks good. Feels good. Maybe that's why she's not with me anymore.
I was going to say, you let a girl that you're only with for a couple of months pick out a suit for you, buddy?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
I needed outside counsel on this.
Well, you know what?
I mean,
I'm torn on because I like the suit, but obviously she has bad taste because she's not with you anymore. So that's a tough one. What are you going to do?
You know,
and here I am. I'm rolling the New Era hat. I've got the Indochino suit jacket and the Crack Pack t-shirt from Carbon Hitter, our friend Chris Branco. So I got it all covered. Dress up on game day, right, Tommy?
You look great, buddy. You look great. You're setting the new standard in Edmonton. I love it.
All right, let's start Battle of Alberta tonight. Dave Tippett is going back to the top 6. So Dominic Cahoon once again out of the lineup into the top 6. Your thought? Let's start with your thoughts on Cahoon, because he does seem to be that one guy that moves in and out of that top 6 right now.
Well, think about it. He's a guy that doesn't really get any special teams play. And he's only got 9 points in 29 games at this point this season. Generally, when he's not playing with Draisaitl, he's kind of ineffective because he's not out there a lot. When he's on that line, I actually think he's all right. Like, people like to just wail on him and say he doesn't do anything, he's soft, he doesn't contribute. I actually think he forechecks well. Him and Yamamoto are feisty, tenacious, smaller players, but they're effective. And you know, because he's not putting up monster numbers, people are ripping on him. He doesn't cost the Oilers much. When he's out there with Draisaitl and Yamamoto, he does make little plays. There is a chemistry there. And generally, he's most effective when he's playing 5-on-5 minutes with those two. And that's what we're going to see tonight. And you know what? I quite honestly haven't minded him at all this season. He's all right. He's fine.
He plays with Leon Draisaitl. He looks like he has some chemistry with Leon Draisaitl. Outside of that, we really haven't seen him a lot because he's either with Draisaitl or he's out of the lineup. So you don't really know too much about what he can do if he was to be put in a bottom 6 situation, because he doesn't typically bring the assets that a bottom 6 forward in this group does, right? So there's a reason that Tippett is stuck with this top 6 for the majority of the time this season. McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and Jesse Puljujärvi, outside of, putting McDavid and Draisaitl together, has that been the best line in your opinion for this group this year, or has the Draisaitl-Yamamoto combo showed any flashes for you?
Draisaitl-Yamamoto line has had like some good spurts. McDavid, Puljujärvi, Nugent Hopkins, obviously best line. I mean, those are 3 really good. McDavid's the best player in the world, but the guys flanking him are really good. It's good to see Puljujärvi's found himself. Nugent Hopkins on the power play, yes, more effective. 5-on-5, yes, you'd like more. But let's not kid ourselves, Dusty. This is a team that's a good team. It has been much better 5-on-5. Defensively, it's been better generally. And when those guys are out there, they do a good job 5-on-5. And most of the complaints to this point this season about their 5-on-5 play, they want more offense. Some fans do. I get it, but really we're nitpicking at this point now this season. You get the teams getting the results. These are the lines that generally get those results. You know what you're going to get from them, and for the most part, it's better results than bad results. It's generally effective and good, and we know that now.
It is. I almost called it the Nielsen show. Like we're doing a Wednesday morning hit.
I see how it is. Why don't we start calling it Don Wheaton on White Oil Stream for crying out loud?
We could do that too. Why not? It's the Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola. If you're watching on the live stream, what I wanted to say is subscribe to the podcast. Do not miss an episode. We just wrapped up March, which was by far our best month for downloads, which is how it should be. We're trending in the right direction. So subscribe to the podcast today. Do not miss an episode, 2 a week. And who knows, when we get to playoffs, might even crank it up another notch. Tommy, Blue Line tonight. Tell me what's happening there. We're going to get a little bit of a fresh look.
A little bit. So Caleb Jones is going to come in for William Lagesson. Lagesson has been skating the last couple of days with Evan Bouchard. They're not in. You're going to see Caleb Jones with Ethan Bear, and then you're going to see Chris Russell with Adam Larson. Barry stays with Darnell Nurse. So let's see how Caleb Jones does. I'm sure he's going to be excited, eager to reestablish himself, show the coaching staff, Jim Playfair and Dave Tippett, that he's got it and he wants it. So expect a lot of jump from him. Let's see how he does away from the puck, Dusty. That's the big question with him. He's got to grow that part of his game. But outside of that, that's about it in terms of the defense.
That's what I was going to say, because, I've liked Lagesson, but he's simple. I mean, I'd like to see him drop the gloves the other game, trying to get it going. Like, he does those types of little things. What does Jones need to accomplish to take that spot away from Lagesson? A spot that, probably shouldn't be written in stone at this point, I would think, for that young Swede.
Yeah, and it's not written in stone. Let's not kid ourselves. Both of these guys are still establishing themselves. They're kind of in the same part of their career. I think, for Jones, you want to see good positioning. You want to see him battling hard defensively, winning puck battles in the corners, getting the pucks up to the wingers or the centerman, cutting through the middle. And at some point, you need to see some offense from him, whether it's assists or getting pucks through from the point that creates chaos in front of the net, or he jumps up on the rush using that good skating ability that he does possess, where he ends up making it into an odd man rush and ends up burying or making a nice play to lead to a goal. That's where Caleb Jones can really separate himself. But just be solid defensively, I think, is all that they're asking for right now. That comes in time. It comes with patience. We know that 300 to 400 game range for a defenseman is when they really start to figure it out. He's got a long way to go, so it's not going to be smooth sailing. We just saw Darnell Nurse get over that hump, and it's paying off big time. The dividends are certainly there. Took some time with Oscar Klefbom. So here's another guy, just like William Lagesson, that needs to go through trial and error. And tonight's his turn to show that he's learning and getting better, and there is progression.
With Nurse and Russell and Larson and Bear in the lineup, will not be required to penalty kill. So that'll take a little bit of extra heat off of him. So I think that'll end up helping him in certain situations as well. He can just focus at being steady 5-on-5. Probably not going to play a ton, but at the same time, if you can play 12 or 13 minutes mistake-free, you're going to get to play in the next game on Monday against the Montreal Canadiens as well. So we'll get to that. Tommy, I know you were at the rink this morning. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at where some of the Oilers prospects fall in Craig Button's top list, but I want to lay these numbers out for you and we can discuss. Philip Broberg is number 8 on Craig's list. Dylan Holloway is number 9. So the Oilers have 2 top 10 league-wide prospects. And then Bouchard's 43, which has people fired up. And then Stuart Skinner, who's having a really nice year in the American Hockey League. To me, surprisingly, number 71 on the list. He's worked his way into Craig Button's top 75. So when I spit those numbers your way, Mr. Gazzola, what jumps off the page for you here?
Now, this is across the league?
This is across the league. Yes.
So where's Broberg?
He's 8 and Holloway is 9.
That's not bad. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's something to look forward to. But you know what's funny is before we found out about Holloway's injury, people were really excited to see him and asking us if he's going to end up on the Oilers roster to finish out the season. I always, now especially where the Oilers have a good thing going and they're turning themselves into a playoff team and a good solid NHL team, which is refreshing to actually say. We're at a point now where it's like, no, you don't need Dylan Holloway to step in all of a sudden because there's a void on the left side on the second line in terms of a prototypical perfect scenario in your top six. Let him develop. Let him grow his game. Same for Broberg. I really think now that, you have these tremendous prospects that have all this potential, let it start to seep into their game properly. And you hear these terms like over-ripen and simmer, all that. Now's the time to let that happen. And whether or not that's letting him go to the minors if he had not been hurt and playing for Bakersfield and just getting acclimatized to being a pro, I like that mentality than just popping them into the spotlight. I'll bring up this example. Ryan Poehling with the Habs a couple of years ago. Where is he now? He's in Laval. Like it hasn't been smooth sailing. These guys, they have that energy and they're building off the momentum after a strong NCAA season, and they go right into the pros, and sometimes they go right into the NHL, have a good impact off the get-go, and then they fizzle out. I like the natural trajectory progression. I like that concept more than just, thrusting him into the spotlight, Dusty. So that's good. And then Bouchard being way down the list, like, is he still a prospect? No, he's a pro player that's now trying to establish himself. And it's going to take more time, as we've seen from Dave Tippett and how they're using him at this point. I'm going to say this too, just my perspective. I have no problem with him not being an everyday guy in the NHL. I have no problem with him not playing every game. I like that he's in the NHL and soaking it in, practicing with like some of the best players in the world. I like that as opposed to him playing at the AHL level where he's kind of past that. So, and I know Cassian loves talking about how you need him playing. I get that, but I kind of don't mind this right now, the way they're handling him.
But he hasn't played in a month. Like it's not even like he's playing one game every 2 weeks. He literally has now, as of this moment, not played a hockey game in a month. So I think Hernan brought it up because you guys had talked about it on the Don Wino White pregame show, the Noah Dobson comparison. And Dobson was playing 1 out of every 2 games for the Islanders. Like it's Bouchard's not in that spot right now, and it's mostly because they're healthy. I mean, there's no spot on that right side. Tippett hasn't gone to the 7 D-men in quite some time. So I'm sure I was going to say if there was no quarantine and you could send Bouchard up and down, up and down, up and down, do you think that's what they would have been doing with him this year, Tommy? Like for sure. I thought Holland had said that he's no longer a minor league player, but I'd have to think that if they could have sent him down and brought him back up whenever they wanted, they would have been executing the season that way for this kid.
Absolutely. And there's no denying that. And I'm all on board with that concept because ideally he should be playing. And this COVID situation has messed all of that up. So, keep that in mind. Yeah, that would be ideal. He would be playing 50-ish games had it been regular, no quarantine. Whether half of those games were in the NHL, the other half were in the AHL, he's playing and all that. This COVID situation has just thrown a wrench into all of that. And that's part of the mindset too, is I get it. Like, I'm not saying, hey, in a perfect scenario, he's just sitting here practicing with the team 24/7 and not getting into any games. In a perfect scenario, he could be sliding back and forth between Bakersfield and Edmonton. And that's, I think part of Kenny Holland saying that too, is to kind of put it into people's heads. Like, no, we're ready to make him an NHLer. And then to show that, this year is just totally messed up because of COVID. The quarantine situation, even though it's only 7 days, Dusty, still sucks. And it puts a wrench into the plans, and there's no denying that whatsoever. And I'm in a complete agreement with, in a normal season, he'd be the guy going back and forth.
Probably be that situation. He did get a lot of hockey in before coming back over to the National Hockey League, playing over in Europe to start the year. So that's good. It's not like he's only played 12 games in the last year. He did get some games overseas, which might help the situation. But I can understand why it's frustrating for Oilers fans when you've got a guy that's billed as high. And I know they're pissed off he's 43 on Craig Button's rankings because Broberg's not, by all accounts, Broberg's like only having an okay season in Sweden, and he's sitting at 8. So it's crazy. Do you know if I can't remember if this came up, but did they consider moving the Condors up here, like north of the border for the year?
Yes. Yeah,
they did.
They looked at it. They did. I mean, it was at a point where they were just exploring all options, and then they decided with that Pacific Division and all the California teams in and around there that they would leave them down there. Plus, they have Henderson is in the mix now in Las Vegas.
Yeah, in Vegas.
It's a suburb. It's like the St. Albert of Las Vegas, so to speak. So they just kept him down there. But that was something that they did consider. Fun fact, by the way, they were thinking about moving them to Palm Springs, and Seattle got in there before them.
Oh,
yeah.
That would have been nice.
Palm Springs is beautiful. It really is. Bakersfield.
Is it a hockey hotbed, Tommy? Is it a hockey hotbed?
No. Come on.
No, well, a lot of the Canadians sliding down there, though, right? Palm
it's
Springs,
awesome. It is beautiful. Obviously, there's a reason why they go down there. So it's not a hockey hotbed. I'm sure, though, if there's a team there's enough people that would go to a 7,000 seat arena to watch a hockey game and cool off for a little bit. But just a fun fact.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the impact here in the North Division, the Vancouver Canucks. And it's not just, contact tracing. It's not one or two. This is multiple players. We're talking, 6 to 8 people in the organization having tested positive for COVID. The Oilers were supposed to play them on Saturday. That's obviously not going to happen. Tommy, this thing could really impact the schedule for the rest of the season, couldn't it?
Yeah, from an Oilers standpoint, though, they have a few gaps where they could play Vancouver, and so it shouldn't be too much of an issue squeezing that game back into the schedule. As for the rest of the North Division, it might wreak havoc, and this comes at a bad time and reemphasizes how diligent and vigilant you need to be when it comes to this COVID situation. And here's the funny thing is the Canucks had a couple of days off, and Travis Green kind of told everyone, just get hockey out of sight, out of mind. We're not going to do any Zoom calls, this and that. So, that applies to the players. That applies to they're kind of like these semi-bubbles that these teams have. Like, we haven't seen the PR staff from the Oilers.
No, literally, they're in the bubble, right?
They're part of this bubble, if you will. And every team's kind of approaching it that way. So they had this chance to kind of decompress a little bit. And, somebody or a few people may have gone out when they shouldn't have or done stuff that they shouldn't have. And all of a sudden they get it and they pass it on because they're back inside close quarters, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got an outbreak. So it's a reminder that we're getting close, but we're not there yet. Like you saw the Golden Knights, their team has gone through its first dose of vaccinations. Obviously different scenario there in the States than it is here with vaccine rollout. But I anticipate we're going to see more and more of those stories rolling in, especially from teams down south.
8 players, 1 staff member for the Vancouver Canucks testing positive. Tommy, for the Oilers, from a schedule perspective, they go on the road here, Montreal, Ottawa next week, couple of days off. Then they're supposed to play Vancouver on the 12th, and that's a Monday, and then Vancouver on the 14th again, a Wednesday. We don't know what the return to play protocol is going to be here for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, if they have to be out for 2 weeks, those games are going to be wiped off the schedule as well. If they don't have to, then you could see the Oilers maybe tag on this missed game against the Canucks as part of that 2-game set that next week, because I think the Oilers have the Thursday, Friday off following those 2 games against the Canucks. So I guess you could get it in right away, but if this thing extends or positive tests continue to trickle in for Vancouver, if this thing goes for 10 to 14 days, that's going to be tough for the NHL to make that work.
Yes. They're going to have to wedge it in somehow to make it even. And Dusty, 3 and 4s, 5 and 8s, and 5s and 7s. People might not like it. It's just the world we're in right now, and it's going to happen, and it's going to affect performance. You saw the Oilers against the Habs where they just stunk out the joint, and they said it wasn't the energy or the legs. It was just this mental grind, if you will, of being in Montreal, not doing anything, going to Toronto, 2 intense games, then going back to Montreal, and you're not quite there, and the sharpness isn't there. Sorry, it's part of the NHL right now. We're almost there, not quite, and it's going to have ramifications. The Dallas Stars, Montreal Canadiens, Boston Bruins, their schedules are just ridiculously stupid to close out the year. So, no excuses. Oiler fans might not like it if it affects them, but
That's the way
We're
it is.
all in it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're going to get through this season, then we knew this was going to happen at some point. Got pretty lucky that it hadn't happened up until the last couple of weeks here in the North Division. Tommy, let's wrap up with this. Frank Saravalli and Insider Trading saying the Oilers had put a contract offer on the table for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Said it was 5 years, didn't have the money that was included, but apparently, Nuge didn't sign on the dotted line right away. So what do you think's the biggest thing here? Is it, do you think Nuge says, put a 6th year on there, or just says, 5 years is fine, but this is going to be my number? How do you think that conversation goes?
I feel like it's probably the money thing. Nuge is a pretty easygoing guy, and Rick Villette's a smart guy too, but they're doing the dance. That's what we're seeing here. They're just doing whatever they can to squeeze out a little bit more, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' play might be able to dictate that. Although I think, Dusty, I think it's fair to say that he's never been in this position before where he's had to worry about next season, where he might play, the financial picture. This is the first time it's really come up over the course of his career. I think that it's possible that it might be getting to him a little bit, and it might be affecting his play, because he hasn't seemed like the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that we've grown accustomed to watching. He's taken some heat, and he's a pretty thoughtful, sensible guy, and I'm sure that it's had some effect or weighed in on him, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. So, good to hear that they're at least proposing and tabling offers, and we'll see where it goes. I think it gets done, and I don't know how much more money he could really demand and command, considering he's not putting up glaringly amazing numbers. They're respectable, and they're good, and they're top 6, but let's see them do the dance. They're doing their due diligence, and they'll go back and forth, and I don't know if it's term. I think it's more so money, and we'll see where this all comes out in the end. I think it'll be okay.
Battle of Alberta tonight, Oilers and Flames. No Oilers Canucks on Saturday, obviously, so this is the one game that we'll be debating and complaining and breaking down all weekend. Tommy, first of all, Don Wheaton on White pregame show. What time you guys get going tonight?
We're an hour and a half, so we go at 5:30 tonight. I don't know who do we have coming in Calgary-wise. I asked for Aaron Vickers.
Yes.
Hernan and Connor have switched. I believe Hernan's doing pregame, Connor's doing postgame, and Gregor might hop on for a bit too, because we are an extended pregame show. So I'm getting all those details right now as we move along. It's a busy holiday Friday. I was at the rig. I just got back. Our good friend Pat Steinberg was asking for some info from the morning skate, and so I stayed a little bit later. And it's just one of those days where you're like, I think it's going to be a quiet day, but it's not.
And it's not. It's not, buddy.
And it's part of the fun.
What do you expect from the game tonight? Is it going to be nasty? Is it going to be a thriller? Is it going to be a McDavid show? Is it a boring Battle of Alberta? What do you think?
I feel like there's going to be some juice there. I mean, the Canucks Flames didn't happen the other night, so they should be amped up and ready to go. It's the Battle of Alberta again. Calgary trying to desperately hang on to its playoff hopes, although those are dimming as the days go by and the games go by. And I think the Oilers want to really put another nail into the coffin of the Flames. So I'm anticipating a pretty lively game. It's a Friday night. People are going to be excited to see this. It is the stretch drive. I'm anticipating a big game, and it can always be the McDavid Draisaitl show. Let's not kid ourselves. Those guys are so good to watch, and they like to light up the Flames.
Pissed off, if he cares, really, but Connor McDavid could be fired up. Couple days off, knowing you're not playing the rest of the weekend. Connor McDavid, at minimum tonight, has 3 points, Tommy. I'm calling it right now. It's a 3-point night for Connor McDavid.
Yeah, if the line is 2.5, take the over, please, and thank you.
That'd pay well. That'd pay very well.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, have a good pre- and post game tonight. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, man, and we'll catch up next week.
You too, Dusty. Happy Easter, my friend.
There you go. For Tom Gazzola, I'm Dustin Nielsen. Thank you very much. Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Thanks for watching on the live stream. Thank you very much for downloading the podcast as well. Enjoy the rest of your Easter weekend, and we will be back next Wednesday with another episode of The Oil Stream.